Welcome back, BrookLAN. We're here with Top Cut, finally, after a long, grueling day. We're here with some Top Cut games. We're going to be starting off with our top 8 first. We're going to jump right into it pretty much with David and Philip. Philip, we saw a little earlier on stream.
Yep. This is our 1 vs. 8 seed in Top Cut. David going undefeated today, the only one after 6 rounds of Swiss. And Philip getting that 8th spot with his X&2 record, getting that last spot due to resistance. Congratulations to both players.
Congratulations to everyone at Top Cut, to be honest. Today was not an easy day, I'll say that very much, or that much, that there was a lot of good players here today and a lot of crazy teams that we saw, some that we saw on the stream. So congratulations to all the players at Top Cut today, and thank you for everyone coming out, and thank you, BrookLAN, for hosting this amazing venue and amazing event again.
100%. This is one of the best places to have a local. I'm honored to be here with you casting and honored to get into this first Top Cut match.
Yeah, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the teams a little bit. We see Gothatel and David carrying the 6-0 throughout the day. Very, very interesting. It's that Rocky Helmet Dark Terrestrialization Gothatel.
That is a very cool meta pick. Something we have not seen today. Something we haven't seen in a while. Very cool pick from David.
Yeah.
We have, just to reiterate, Philip's team. We have the Bandit Arcanine, Tornadus, Iron Hands, Fluttermane, Ogre Pond Water, and the Urshifu Single Strike.
Yeah, who we saw pilot very earlier, very convincingly in that Tailwind mirror, where it was very, very convincing that Cohen, or Philip, excuse me, deserved that win and played out of their mind, to be honest, to get that win. I'm really curious to see what this Gothatel does. It clearly does something, right? I can imagine Gothatel and Urshifu here on David's side with that Scarf Terra Water Urshifu just does so much damage, right? So there's a POV where it's like you can imagine that you need the rain or you don't need the rain and stuff like that, but Gothatel is like kind of the same idea where it's like instead of boosting the rain, I'm just going to pin slots.
Yeah, it gives me like Amoonguss on like a hyper offensive team vibes. Like you throw 5 Pokemon on the team that do crazy damage, and then your defensive piece to put it all together is Amoonguss. In this case, David went with the Gothatel, which clearly has worked out for him today. And
I think it works on this team as well because you have a lot of Pokemon like Chien-Pao, Choice Band Dragonite, where you create these weird pins, right? Because you have Dragonite, Chien-Pao on this team, you have Urshifu, you have Rillaboom, and you have Fluttermane. All really strong attackers. Even Rillaboom, right, with that Wood Hammer does a lot of damage we've seen before. Just being able to pin slots with Gothatel and then have disrupting moves like Taunt and Thunder Wave, right? You have matchups into those pesky things like the Photograph that you aren't able to fake out, and things like that. Like I feel like the Gothatel offers a lot of utility in this matchup. I'm really excited to see how it's going to play out in this game.
Yeah, we have just the Fluttermane from Philip's side that will be immune to the Shadow Tag, but Shadow Tag keeping your Pokemon on the board, allowing you to control the gameplay with Gothatel. We'll see if David can utilize that like he has done all day.
And I think it's very curious as well because a lot of the time Gothatel wants to trap Pokemon in, and like you said, there's only one Ghost type on their side of the field. And if an Arcanine, for example, comes in, right, and clicks a Choice Banded move, and you're able to fake it out with Gothatel and pivot your Fake out between Rillaboom and Gothatel, and David is able to call the slots correctly, I think you're able to pin some of the Pokemon, like the Choice Banded Pokemon, very, very well.
Yeah, very true.
Like something like the Iron Hands as well, right? If you pin it, you can assume that you have the faster fake out on Gothatel. The Rocky Helmet is pretty good against that as well. Psychic, maybe not doing as much damage. Maybe more than Photograph, to be honest, though.
Yeah. Yeah, don't sleep on Gothatel's attack stat. Like, I think it's close to like...
It's got to be 85.
No, its special attack stat, sorry, will be upwards of...
No, I'm saying, like, a special attack has to be like 85.
No, it's way higher. It's like in the...
110. At most.
I think it's like 120s, brother. I think it's up
Fluttermane
there.
is 135.
Yeah, Gothatel has a decent... Gothatel is good special attack. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I'm not a Gothatel expert.
Like, we're talking about Gothatel so much, I wonder if it even comes to this matchup as well. What do you think?
Well, I see the thing that threatens it is the Dark Urshifu. I mean, Wicked Blow is a very, very strong dark move, maybe the strongest dark move that threatens this Gothatel. I mean, it can resist it with the Terra Dark that it is holding, but then you're I'll say wasting lightly, but using your Terra for Gothatel just to like make it survive the turn longer. So I don't know. Something like the Urshifu definitely scares it. I wonder if David has played a Dark Urshifu today and how the matchup went, but I feel like that is definitely threatening. And of course, always there's a Choice Specs Fluttermane on this team. Again, Terra Dark helps, but Fluttermane could just click a fairy move. So
Yeah.
the mind games are there.
And I think the other thing about Urshifu too, right, is Urshifu Dark isn't common in the first place. Most people are prepped for the Surging Strikes and the Aqua Jets and the Terra Waters and things like that. So when Urshifu Dark comes out in the field, a lot of people will go, huh? And a lot of players assume that Iron Hands might be enough, but you have to remember there's 5 other Pokemon on the team. There's things like that Fluttermane and their own Iron Hands and the Arcanine to intimidate and kind of support the Dark Urshifu. And the Dark Urshifu, if it's put in the right position, especially against like a Gothitelle, for example, you come out in these really, really strong positions.
Yeah, we saw Philip earlier really dominate the hyper offense Tailwind like mirror match, and there's no Tailwind on this team from David, but it is certainly still hyper offense. So I want to see if Philip can like reiterate what he did on stream earlier today and really control the pace of another hyper offensive matchup.
Yeah, and I think something like the Scarf Urshifu is going to be very important for David here to take advantage of that Gothitelle. I think if you do bring Gothitelle in this matchup, if you're not scared of the Dark Urshifu, I think you really want to be capitalizing on what you're shadow tagging. You want to make sure that whatever you shadow tag, your partner Pokemon is threatening the field. You don't want to lock yourself in. You don't want to quote-unquote shadow tag yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm interested to see if David does opt to bring the Gothitelle in this matchup, if it's in the lead, trapping maybe a lead off like on first turn for Philip, or maybe it's something you switch in when you feel like you have a very advantageous position, and see how David uses that against Philip.
And something I've seen like kind of fall out of the meta as well is like Dragonite Chien-Pao. We haven't seen it in a while. It's balanced teams or it's Tailwind stuff. No one really uses Dragonite Chien-Pao before, but you know what Dragonite Chien-Pao is really good at beating?
What's that?
Tailwind.
Yes.
Because priority choice band extreme speed doesn't really care about your Tailwind.
It does not. And as much as these Pokemon fall in and out of circulation in the meta, they are so strong and they are not going anywhere as we see them in the lead.
Yeah, and we are going to see that Tailwind lead, that Tornadus and the Fluttermane as we jump into our top 8 match here at the BrookLAN local. Tornadus and Fluttermane on lead here from Philip and Dragonite Chien-Pao from David.
Yeah, just locking in the straight Chien-Pao Dragonite. And I think Philip led pretty well into this. I think Fluttermane is definitely a Pokemon you want in front of this combo. The Specs Fairy moves will get you a lot of mileage in this game, but we'll see how Terra types affect this lead here. I feel like both these teams might want to Terrasilize on turn 1.
Yeah, and that's the scary thing about the Dragonite Chien-Pao lead is because if you are Philip, right, you do go for this Terrasalization turn 1 on your Fluttermane, but that's really scary because if David does decide to go for that Terra Normal E-Speed into something like the Tornadus, right, next turn you get to E-Speed the Fluttermane, and if David has Gothitelle in the back, guess what can't switch out anymore?
That Pokemon right there, but we do see the Terra Normal E-Speed, well, we assume E-Speed, Terra Normal Dragonite.
What we really need to see is David go for the Extreme Speed into the Fluttermane.
That would be a crazy play. I mean, he's 6-0. I wouldn't put it past him. We see the Extreme Speed. Who's it into? Is it? And it's just into the Tornadus. And Tornadus hangs on. That's a very bulky Tornadus. Setting up the Tailwind, boosting this Photosynthesis Fluttermane. Is it a speed boosting or is it more special attack on top of the choice specs? We do see the speed boosting. This Fluttermane is very fast, and we see the Terra Fairy specs Dazzling Gleam come out, doing big damage here, knocking Dragonite into half. Ooh. And Chien-Pao to his sash.
And that does 50% to Dragonite, which is very important to know. So that means another Dazzling Gleam is most likely going to pick up here. We do see Icicle Crash go into the Fluttermane, and it is going to live. I don't know if that's good for Philip. I think Philip wanted a free switch there.
Yeah, I just want to. It is like amazing to me that Tornadus and Fluttermane both hung on to those attacks. Icicle Crash usually, I feel like, over Ice Spinner is there to do more damage and potentially pick up these Fluttermanes. And both of Philip's Pokemon hanging on there is very interesting to see. Now, this is where the priority from Chien-Pao Dragonite is really big for David. And the Terra Fairy from the Fluttermane leaves it very exposed here.
Yeah, so something very important to note as well is that David actually is opting for the Sacred Sword here on the Chien-Pao instead of something like that Lash Out. So you do have that fighting coverage, and if you are able to go for Sacred Sword into the Tornadus, which is pretty safe to be honest, you could do a lot of damage to this Arcanine.
We do see the Arcanine come out, intimidate this Chien-Pao, not the Dragonite due to Inner Focus. Who did Dragonite click E-Speed into? And it is the Fluttermane. Picking up the Fluttermane here, and let's see where this Chien-Pao clicks. Going into this Arcanine that just switched in.
Yeah, I'm very curious of what Philip does here. I think that turn 1 was, I don't know, it really depending on the game plan. Oh, Sucker Punch, very, very interesting.
Yeah, Sucker Punch going for the double priority there if both Pokemon stay in. But this Arcanine gets to come in for free, and it does resist the Extreme Speed. But this Tornadus comes in and does not have Protect, and it is another a very easy E-Speed target for this Dragonite.
Yeah, this E-Speed is definitely going to hurt. It's going to pick up the KO on this Tornadus as well if it does go into that slot. Something like the Sacred Sword could still hit this Arcanine. The Chien-Pao, this was an amazing play from David here, I think. The Arcanine, right, being able to get that Extreme Speed first if it is faster than the Dragonite, would normally, I think, pick up the KO with the Choice Band, but now that Chien-Pao is off the field, you have to, if you're Philip, you have to kind of think if the Extreme Speed is going to pick up here, which it is going to miss the KO now that Chien-Pao is off the field. And this Extreme Speed, I wouldn't be surprised if this is just into the Tornadus to deny that Tailwind, deny Bleak Wind Storm, deny any sort of action that Tornadus wants to take, and you get Flutter Mane in for free here. And the Arcanine, guess what? It's locked into that Extreme Speed.
It is locked into Extreme Speed for the rest of the game, and now this Flutter Mane is on the field, completely immune to whatever this Arcanine wants to do. Now, David just has to deal with this Ogerpon, and Flutter Mane can win this in-game with this Arcanine not being able to touch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And having Flutter Mane here be completely immune to this Arcanine is huge, I think, for David. They're not out of the woods yet because Sunny Day is up, but Horn Leech should be enough with Philip. The Ogerpon versus Flutter Mane, depending on how David's Flutter Mane is built, it is actually the booster energy there.
We see the
so
spiky shield come out from the Ogerpon, protecting us up this turn, and the Arcanine picking up the Dragonite with the faster E-Speed, though.
Yeah.
Let's see what the Flutter Mane targets here.
But like as I was saying, like it doesn't. It's kind of scary in this end game here, right? Shadow Ball into the Arcanine, correctly calling the protect. It doesn't really matter. I think David just kind of showing. I knew you were gonna protect. Let me just get some free damage.
Yeah, Shadow Ball is very good chip damage into this Arcanine, and we'll see what David's fourth Pokemon is potentially. We do see the Rillaboom. This is threatening big priority damage, big fake out, and I think it puts David in a very good spot here.
And now this is scary, right? Because you don't have a Spiky Shell Ogerpon anymore, and your Arcanine can't protect. So a Fake Out plus a strong move from the Flutter Mane here could be super dangerous. Something like the Chien-Pao as well. We are just going to see an Extreme Speed from the Arcanine. A Grassy Glide into the Ogerpon. Is this a double up with Moonblast, perchance?
We do see the Moonblast, and it picks up the Ogerpon.
That's huge.
Philip has no way to win this game with the Flutter Mane still on the field.
That's absolutely huge, though. I think that calc is super important for David to internalize there. Having access to a double up like that, having that Moonblast and that Grassy Glide, and all but confirming it, right? Now that Spiky Shield had just gone off on Philip the turn before. Really well played game one from David there. Extreme Speed going to fire off on a Rillaboom, seeing just how much damage exactly it's going to be doing.
Yeah, good for damage calcs going forward. Actually, really good damage. Oh, with
there
the
you go, critical hit.
Rillaboom,
figuring it out. If I critical hit my opponent, then, you know, I'll get the KO.
Rillaboom actually hangs on very impressively, and Flutter Mane and Rillaboom are able to pick up this game one win for David.
Yeah, and David really showing in that game why they are 6-0 going into Top Cut. They played that amazingly, I think, managing their pieces correctly, just doing Dragonite Chien-Pao things, right? Clicking Extreme Speed, clicking Icicle Crash, just doing so much damage on the field that Philip really has to respond correctly to the Dragonite Chien-Pao. Otherwise, you lose a lot of the pieces, as we saw.
Yeah, 100%. And we talked about how this Chien-Pao Dragonite we haven't seen all day. Maybe has fallen off a little bit in the meta, but it's not going anywhere. It was such a good lead for David in this game to just build the momentum off turn one. Philip adjustments here. Maybe I think terrestrializing the Flutter Mane was maybe a bit of a risky play on turn one. You get the boosted damage, but you are so susceptible to you're just susceptible to the E-Speed on the next turn. So interesting to see what Philip does. Maybe not terrestrialize the Flutter Mane this game.
Yeah, and I unfortunately we didn't get to see the Gothitelle. Maybe Gothitelle doesn't come to this matchup again. That Urshifu Dark, I think, is fairly scary, to be fair, and the Flutter Mane obviously threatens super effective damage, and maybe it's just not the matchup as much as I want to see Gothitelle.
Yeah, we do want to see it on stream. Maybe when you're feeling comfortable after a game one win, you're bringing it out on the game two.
Yeah, just flex a little bit. I'm 6-0. I'll take a loss, but it's top 8, so remember, if you do lose this, you are going to be knocked out of the top 8 bracket.
Yeah, like an interesting play that David could make is if that Arcanine does lock into E-Speed again, maybe he can trap it with Gothitelle and have it in front of the Flutter Mane.
But we see just the Chien-Pao Dragonite lead from David. Don't fix if it ain't broke. And Arcanine from hands here from Philip, which I really like a lot.
Yeah.
This forces a lot of different mind games, I think, from David's end, where Arcanine right can go for a Rock Slide, and you could very easily fake out Rock Slide. And that forces either Terrestrialization from Chien-Pao if it really wants to get damage on this Arcanine, or Iron Hands, which I don't expect to happen. or you can do lots of crazy stuff. But we see Phil maybe considering what could happen after terrestrialization, which Pokemon really wants to terrestrialize and what they want to do as well. Because you have to remember, if Dragonite doesn't terrestrialize, then it's weak to the Rock Slide from Arcanine there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting play where you might just like call the Chien-Pao to protect in front of Fake Out here.
Yep.
Maybe not wanting to use your Terra Ghost, playing it safe and protecting, and trying to get rid of the Dragonite before it does too much damage to you and your team.
Yeah, and very interesting. The Dragonite moveset usually changes. The staples are usually like Extreme Speed and Stopping Tantrum. This Dragonite has Aerial Ace and Aqua Jet as well, which are very, very interesting moves. I'm not sure if Aqua Jet would pick up at Arcanine. Like, I kind of want to say it maybe does. Extreme Speed on Arcanine, no terrestrialization. We do see the Terra Ghost, Sacred Sword doubling up in the Arcanine, picking up the KO. That's huge.
That is a very big KO from David, trusting the resisted E-Speed damage along with Sacred Sword to pick up this Arcanine at -1 from Chien-Pao. And we see the damage from Iron Hands there in the Dragonite, not doing much without the Terra Normal.
Yeah, that was a really well-played terminal from David. I think, again, we saw Philip almost lock in Drain Punch there, which would have been even worse, I think, than Heavy Slam. So seeing the Flutter Mane come in here now makes a lot of sense. The Dragonite is going to be weak, so if Philip does decide to terrestrialize, they should be able to get the KO on the Dragonite this time around. But the problem is Chien-Pao is just so fast, and we saw how much Icicle Crash did. If you do Terra Fairy, then Extreme Speed in that slot does a lot of damage. So I'm very curious to see what Philip opts in for here. But David is definitely in the driver's seat in this at that turn 1.
Yeah, the Terra Ghost from Chien-Pao, making sure.
Oh my goodness!
That is so much damage.
That was at a critical. That almost did 50% to the Iron Hands.
We see -1 Icicle Crash, flinch the Flutter Mane.
Oh no!
And Philip's momentum is slowly fading away.
That Extreme Speed did way too much damage.
It is not normal to see that much damage into an Iron Hand.
Because now what you do, right, all you have to do is just double the hands, and you win. Like, you could argue that you could miss a Crash, but if you go for something like Extreme Speed Sacred Sword in this Iron Hands, you just take it out.
Yeah.
After the piece is rid of the field, like, you have your Sash on Chien-Pao thanks to that Terra Ghost. Even though Philip didn't fake out that slot, you're getting rid of the bigger threat. We see Sucker Punch in the Flutter Mane. This works as well.
It does take out because of the crit. I
don't think critical hit mattered.
You don't think -1? I think it might have mattered, but we won't find out. We see it take out the Flutter Mane and Heavy Slam into the Chien-Pao.
Maybe the Flutter might have lived at like 1.
It could have.
But I think David is in such a dominant position with that Extreme Speed, just doing that much, and we do unfortunately see a forfeit from Philip there. David showing why they were 6-0 in Swiss today.
Yeah, very dominant performance from David, trusting the Chien-Pao, the trusty Chien-Pao Dragonite. It just put so much pressure on Philip, and it really didn't. Maybe he wasn't expecting to see it today, but it just did so much work into his team.
Yeah, and it goes to show as well that you really need to respect Dragonite Chien-Pao, and you really need to be able to assess it properly. Otherwise, it could just kind of steamroll you.
Yeah. So, I mean, just dominance from David. Honestly, I mean, we come to expect it when you go 6-0 at a local. You're feeling yourself today. You're playing your best stuff, and just a dominant win.
But congrats to Philip, too, for making it top 8. Like I said, everyone in top 8 deserves to be in top 8, and they play really well when they got the opportunity to play early on our stream.
Yeah,
both of these players are amazing, and I'm really excited to see where they go at future locals and things like that.
Yep, maybe at the New Jersey local this week. There's another one this weekend. So
there's another New Jersey local tomorrow at Rutgers. So there's that.
It doesn't stop. Maybe they'll do the same thing tomorrow. But yeah, Philip on stream today played so well. Commiserations, but top 8 is still a great achievement.
Yeah, absolutely. And after top 8, you know what comes after top 8?
Top
4.
Yeah,
top 4.
Okay.
Numbers.
I had to count real quick.
Yeah.
I'm not good at math, but yeah.
But we are going to cut to a quick break before we jump into our top 4. Very excited, so stay tuned. We'll be after top 4 is finals, so you do not want to miss it. Please stay.